Welcome to New Game Plus, a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name's Kenny.
Nolan.
And this is episode 298.
Oh my
At
gosh.
episode 300, we will be celebrating our 6-year anniversary as a podcast.
I'm scared.
You're scared.
Crazy.
Yeah. Terrified?
Me too.
Yes.
Okay. On Saturday, October 2nd, when?
October 2nd on Saturday.
We are hosting our first ever live call-in where you, dear listener,
Me?
viewer, listener, can be a part of the show. You can come, talk to us, and most importantly, pitch a retro video game for us to play for episode 301.
This is like the ultimate pool, Patreon pool, but it's not a Patreon pool.
You don't have to be a patron.
Nope,
you don't
no.
even have to listen to the show.
No. Bill Gates, you can
don't-
call in if you want.
Bill Gates, you don't have, well, I mean, he listens to the show, but
Okay,
you
yeah.
don't have to, you don't really have to do many things. The only thing that you have to do is show up sometime between 10 o'clock and noon on October 2nd. We're talking about Central Time.
Central Time.
Central Standard Time.
Well,
C-
is it standard right now?
Yeah, CST.
I forget.
Well, I
It's
always
the
say
time
just Central
zone
Time.
we're in. Central Time.
Central Time, whether it's CST or CDT right now, I don't know, but Central Time on October 2nd between 10 and noon, you'll show up in our Discord channel and you will be corralled by one of our patrons, one of our friends that will then be able to allow you one at a time to come in, talk with us for a brief amount of time. We'll chat for a little bit. We'll ask you a few questions, and then you'll be able to pitch a game that we haven't played that is 15 years old or older. And out of those games that are pitched on that day, we will randomly select at the end of our anniversary episode what game we're going to be playing first for the 7th year stretch of our show.
Now listen, this pitch better be good. Okay? So
better.
prepare.
Yes.
And
PowerPoint?
and we'll take PowerPoints. We won't show
Right.
it, but I'll look at it. And just make sure that, make us want to play the game. Tell us why you love it. Tell us why it's worth playing. Tell us why it's so bad and would be so entertaining. But don't come in here and be like, hey guys, I had cereal for breakfast today. What'd y'all have?
Right. I think we've talked about it, maybe haven't finalized, but I do think something like excellent pitches will get 3 entries. Decent pitches, good to decent, will get 2. And if you just come in here and be like, please play this game, you'll get 1 pitch. You still get it entered,
Sure.
but it's only one time.
Yeah.
We'll definitely wait it somehow.
Yeah, it will be weighted. So again, Saturday, October 2nd, sometime between 10 and noon Central Time. Come and join us in Discord and be a part of our 6-year anniversary episode. In the spirit of our upcoming anniversary episode, I've got a quiz for you two.
I'll win.
I love
Isn't-
these.
yeah,
No,
isn't
you
this one?
won't.
Okay,
I'll win.
listen. We are going to do a quiz. It's like what we've normally done. You'll take turns. If you get the answer wrong, the other can steal, but you only have one answer per question. The first to 5 correct is the winner.
I get
Okay.
so nervous when we play these on.
Yes,
Oh.
and this was unexpected. You had no idea.
Okay.
Those listening at home or watching at home, you can play along as well. See how many you can get correct. Bonus, there's not necessarily a bonus point, but just bonus, if you can notice the thematic trend of the questions. Okay? Thematic trend of the questions.
Okay.
So,
Digimon World.
I'm flipping a coin, and Nolan, you're going to tell me heads or tails, and this determines who goes first.
Okay. Heads.
It is tails.
Okay.
So, Kenny,
wanted
would
to
you
go
like
second.
to go first or second?
No, I'm going second.
Yes, you nerd. Your first psychology works. Praise God. I go first.
Okay, this is so dumb. First to 5. Nolan, we're starting with you.
Okay.
Which animals included due to a 2009 pandemic were the main enemies the Angry Birds worked together to retrieve stolen eggs from?
Repeat the question.
Which animals included due to a 2009 pandemic were the main enemies the Angry Birds worked together to retrieve stolen eggs from?
I don't know.
Is that okay? Incorrect.
Okay.
Kenny, would you like to steal?
I mean, I'd like to try to steal.
Go.
We're so nervous.
I haven't said, but you can't cheat. You can't look things up, and I know
Are
neither
you
of
No,
you
I'm
are.
not.
No,
I'm
Kenny's
not.
not.
I'm
Okay.
thinking.
Come on, y'all both played this game.
Okay.
Well, you can't
No,
give him that hint without.
That's not even
Okay.
That would have helped me.
Pigeons.
incorrect, guys. The Angry Birds fought pigs.
Oh, I didn't play this
Oh,
game.
swine flu. I was thinking of bird flu and was
Okay.
going through a whole
I was
list of
thinking
like,
of Ebola.
what bird was it
Neither
in?
of you got that one.
Can we go
All
to
right,
the next
you,
one?
yes, we are going to the next one, and it is Kenny's. Kenny, this is your question. Although you can't pet them, dogs can lead Link to treasure in which Legend of Zelda title?
This one's unfair for Nolan.
I don't know.
I don't either. Majora's Mask.
Incorrect. Nolan, try to steal.
Twilight Princess.
Incorrect. The correct answer is Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I thought I was pretty sure you could pet them. No, you can feed them. I wrote
Players
Breath of
can-
the Wild off because I thought you could pet them.
Players
Are
can
we
bond
dumb?
With, players
Yeah.
can bond Players can bond with dogs by standing near them or feeding them, which encourages them to lead Link to buried treasure.
It's like real life. All right.
All right, guys.
had-
Well, we might have no winners here today. Coming back to Nolan.
All right.
Wark Wark. Chocobos are a mascot of the Final Fantasy series. What type of animal are they?
Bird. Final answer.
Correct, Nolan. We have 1 point for Nolan.
On
Kenny,
the
these
board.
answers have been easy so far. We started easy and we're going more difficult.
Well, then why would I go second? Also, I thought you said work, and I thought this was going to be
Work,
a
work,
Warcraft
work.
question.
Work,
Not
work.
work.
Question number 4, Kenny. In which 2009 BioWare role-playing game can the player befriend a Mabari warhound as a permanent ally?
I feel like I get all the questions that should be for Nolan. What is this series?
2009
BioShock.
BioWare. Is that your answer?
Yes.
Okay. Incorrect. Nolan, try to steal.
Dragon Age Origins.
That is correct. Nolan, that is your second
that's
point.
clutch.
Dragon Age Origins.
I thought it could have been the second one. That was clutch.
Now we're coming back.
I at
to
least
Nolan.
get the right developer, right? For
No,
isn't that who
you
made?
didn't.
No.
What'd you say?
You just thought
I don't care.
BioWare.
You thought
BioShock.
BioWare,
Oh,
BioShock.
you said BioWare.
Yes.
All right, coming to you, Nolan. Coming to you. Which famous Nintendo character used Ungard, the swordfish, in multiple platforming titles to traverse tricky underwater levels?
Say it again.
Which famous Nintendo character used Ungard, the swordfish, in multiple platforming titles to traverse tricky underwater levels?
Diddy Kong. Final answer. Ask the judges. Ask the panel.
Well, I mean, I've got no panel. The
It's-
correct
okay.
answer is Donkey Kong.
I know.
I was gonna steal that one. You took
Okay,
the one
well,
that I was
but
gonna
hold
steal.
on.
But Diddy
In
can't
every
use it.
one that Donkey Kong can, Diddy Kong can as well.
Okay.
So I am going to give that one to you, Nolan.
3 points, baby.
You
Three.
got 3. Kenny, we're coming to
Three
you.
big ones.
You need to pick it up
I
because
can't-
currently you have 0.
No, it's best of 5, and he's got 3. It's over. I can't win.
It's not best of 5.
He didn't
It's
say that.
first to 5. Can you please listen?
Oh, okay.
BioWare.
Bring it.
All right.
Bring it. Can
Coming
we make
to
them
you.
Christmas themed?
Kenny, Kenny, Isabella was an anthropomorphic Shih Tzu who acted as the player character's mayoral secretary in which 2012 life simulation title? Isabella was an anthropomorphic Shih Tzu who acted as the player character's mayoral secretary in which 2012 life simulation title?
Okay, it's a life sim with a dog as a character. Um, gosh. Okay, I'm gonna. Can I describe it? It's
No.
okay. It's Animal Crossing, but not the new one, not New Horizon. Animal Crossing. Final answer.
Incorrect.
What year?
Nolan?
What year?
2012.
Animal Crossing New Leaf.
Correct.
No,
Four big
that's
ones,
not
baby.
any different than Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong.
No, that's
clearly
different.
Knew the
'Cause
the
you even
series
said
and tried
not-
to give you the fact that it was an older one.
You
I
acknowledged
don't know
though
the subtitle to the game.
that
No,
it
you
wasn't
straight
the
up
new
told-
one.
I
There-
totally answered the spirit
There
of the
are
question.
answers that are Animal Crossing. There are games that are Animal Crossing. That's Animal Crossing New Leaf.
And Donkey Kong
Four big
Country
ones.
is Donkey Kong.
I didn't ask
zero.
the game. I asked the character, and he gave me one of the two characters.
Kenny, it's just my day. You win these
And
all
I-
the time.
I gave you.
Nolan, coming to you. Nolan, coming to you.
Not
you
okay,
Can
I got
win with
robbed.
this one, Nolan. You
All
can
right.
win with this one.
All right.
Which platforming video games hero had a best friend, Daxter, who was best recognized as an Ottsel, which is an otter and weasel cross?
You just need the name of his companion?
I need the name of the video games hero who had a best friend named Daxter.
Jack.
Correct.
5-0.
That's 5
okay.
points.
That's
Which
called
makes
a
you-
skunk.
3-2, actually.
It makes you the winner, Nolan. Ding, ding, ding,
Actually,
ding,
3-2.
ding, 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 ding.
Oh man.
Is this gonna set a bad tone for this episode?
Yes, today's
Yeah,
just
I'm
my
gonna
day.
be so bitter all game.
Kenny,
Hey,
you
Kenny,
know
Diddy
you
Kong?
didn't do that.
Diddy
You
I
Kong?
did not
didn't do well, but I didn't do
perform
as badly as you made it look like I did.
Dixie
Kenny,
Kong.
Kenny, I'll give you one more just to see if you can walk away
No,
here with
that's
a
just
point.
salt in the wound.
Which animal, wrongly assumed to be suicidal in real life, needed all the help the player could give them in a 1991 puzzle platformer?
No, I refuse to answer the question.
No, do you
I'll
want
steal.
another answer?
Repeat the question.
Which animals, wrongly assumed to be suicidal in real life, needed all the help the player could give them in a 1991 puzzle platformer?
Lemmings. Easy.
You
Lem-
got it,
lemmings,
Kenny,
lemmings.
correct. Kenny got
late.
it first.
6-0.
All right, Kenny's the winner. All right, what's the theme? That's correct. The theme is all of these had to do with a virtual or a digital animal, pet, or monster. Like in our retro game of the week, Digimon World.
5-0.
Overview.
Digimon World is a Bandai title that came out on the PlayStation, released in 1999. That is the predecessor, actually, to Digimon the television show. I believe this actually dropped first. And unsurprisingly, by the name, is an overt competitor to the Pokemon series. The idea is you are raising digital monsters that are competing and getting raised, sort of a little bit more of a focus on the kind of pet care aspect in this series than like in the Pokemon series. But that's the premise of this world. And the premise of this specific game, Digimon World, is that a kid who is an avid Digimon fan gets sucked into this digital world where his digital monsters live to find that they're in serious trouble. Their island has just some really wrong stuff going on. All the monsters have lost their memory and fled the city. But your job, now that you're in this world, is to save the day by raising up a Digimon to be better than all the others, and by going around and convincing all of your pals to come and re-inhabit the city. And then, of course, things get a little more complex from there.
The big thing here is that Digimon was the direct competitor to Pokemon, which is one of
Absolutely.
the biggest, most successful franchises ever.
Yeah, but at least this game is a lot less gotta catch 'em all and is more gotta raise them very well.
Yes.
Yes.
Honestly,
you are also collecting though, because you've got this whole. We've got to get these, and get them back into the city.
Yes, but not. You're not. It's not animal abuse.
where you're forcing them to do things constantly without feeding them.
And putting them in
Balls.
little balls and carrying them in your pocket.
I would argue there's some animal abuse here.
It's animal abuse, if anything.
No, there's certain Digimon that the only way you can get them is by like neglecting your creature and starving them and over disciplining them.
Well,
that's
okay,
heavy Tamagotchi
digital
vibes.
animal abuse.
Even if there is animal abuse, which I would say that there's not, this is digital animal abuse. In Pokemon, they are real biological animals, other than Polygon.
Robots have rights.
Polywar, whatever that one is.
They're clearly also digital.
No, what are you talking
it's a
about?
TV show.
Okay.
First of all, Pokemon is real life. You played Pokemon Go more than anybody. Secondly, in the world of Pokemon, those
On a
Pokemon
phone.
in the world of Pokemon, Kenny, just because you lost a game 5-0, in Pokemon, the animals are biologically real and existing. In the world of Digimon, they are all real and existing, but not biologically. They are all digital.
Okay.
Big
Now,
difference.
No, silly semantics.
This
Are
is
you kidding me?
back to what I was saying though. Back in the day, this to me, this is the classic Coca-Cola versus Pepsi. This is Twizzlers versus Red Vines. To me, and Digimon was off-brand Pokemon. To
And
other
I know
people,
you would think that. Yeah,
to other
right,
people,
to me.
Digimon was like way cooler than Pokemon. So,
Yes.
but also I didn't know the game came first. I completely thought this was the show. The anime came first, and then they made the game. I don't know why I thought that.
I mean, they kind of released all of it like together,
Ye-
but the game came out preceding the show slightly.
Okay.
The show wasn't built. The show wasn't created based off of Digimon World. They were all kind of created, in tandem, and then released within close proximity to one another. Nolan, I was probably one of those individuals. I enjoyed Pokemon. For me, it wasn't an either or; it was a both and.
Okay.
But because I was on the slightly older side when Pokemon came out, Digimon filled some of that. Where Pokemon was a little bit more kiddie, Digimon was a little bit more mature. Where Pokemon was a little bit less story-centric, Digimon was a little bit more story-centric. Where Pokemon characters were a little bit more cute and cuddly, Digimon were like these like really cool-looking mons.
Yeah.
So I did really enjoy Digimon and probably watched more Digimon anime, are they anime, than the Pokemon anime.
Sure.
Okay. Wow. Kenny, you probably didn't watch either?
He didn't watch either.
I didn't like actively pursue either. When they were passively around, like if somebody's watching Pokemon or if a Digimon episode is playing, like I certainly was aware of them and totally got the appeal of Digimon. I do think it was a better show, but neither really sunk into me. If we're doing it by like age and stereotyping there, I was just a little too old for that trend. Also, this is PlayStation, but when we've changed what world means in video game titles, I thought we were getting an MMO with Digimon World because like I don't know. I mean, it's kind of open world-ish. It's not multiplayer and like it's not an MMO.
No,
that's not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But it's definitely got a world vibe.
Yeah, I think it's a fair title for it.
Yeah.
What genre would you consider this?
What genre's Pokemon?
Oh, so you think they're the same?
RPG. Yeah.
No.
I think so.
They're the same overarching genre. I think it is an RPG, but I think it's a completely distinct subtype of RPG.
I think
this is like a pet sim.
A pet sim.
Yeah, within an RPG setting. And I don't think Pokemon is that.
It's a Souls-like.
Metroidvania.
Before Souls came out.
Gameplay.
Digimon World is uncomfortably open world.
Yeah. Okay.
Explain, Kenny.
Okay, I'll explain what you think
why
that means.
uncomfortable?
All right, I'll Kenny doesn't know.
No, I don't mind
you can try.
explaining. I disagree, but I think I know what you're saying.
Right.
It's wide open. You're dropped into this place, and then you're just not given any direction.
Anything. No real
and
guidance.
You just go out to do whatever you think you're supposed to do.
That was cool in 99.
Well, but even the task is, hey, listen, this is what I need you to do. Go out and save the Digi World. And but like, there's no next steps. There's no
they
like.
do give you the caveat of try and get these Digimon to come back into the city.
But
That's
not every Digimon you face in the wild are going to come back to the city. Most of them are random, quote unquote, random encounters, and only key certain ones. Some of them that look just like the random encounters are ones that you, after fighting, you're able to get them to come back to the city.
Also, it would make a little more sense if there was a blueprint. You're like, oh, I've seen the show, I know what to do. But like y'all said, this is all at the same time. There's no blueprint, so it really is.
I think
like
the show's not even this.
What do you want me to do? No, it's not.
I will agree the lack of direction is frustrating. If you watch my first play, the entire thing is me just going, what do I do?
Oh, that's everything.
Because not only is there a lack of direction about sort of the world and plot, though there is a little bit of that given, it also doesn't explain anything else. You quickly stumble upon a training grounds that you don't know how to use, and there's a little bit of a tutorial there, but not really a descriptive one. You've got a whole bunch of menus in your system that you don't know how to use. You jump into a fight and you can't even really control your monster at first
or ever.
And that's confusing.
Well,
and you get shoved out there and they tell you figure it out. And that's certainly one of the bigger problems with this game.
I feel like trial and error also doesn't work. Like, it's confusing for a while, and you can't design a game that just sets you loose, especially in something that's like, it's not linear. But in that first battle, I mean, you're just like, wait, I'm used to Pokemon. Where's my like normal menu? Why is it not behaving like I think it is? And then I had to look it up. I used the guide the whole week.
Well, even with a guide, you're going to struggle to some degree unless it's telling you exactly what to do. But there are and man, I'm just talking about the bare bones start of the game,
sure.
Because the deeper you get into the Digi evolution, whatever it's called here, and I'll just call it evolution. The deeper you get in, the more complex and confusing and convoluted it gets.
This is one of the most complex games I think we've played.
Maybe the most.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. We played Birthright, and I tried to get you guys to turn on advanced settings.
What was Birthright again?
It was probably one of those strategies.
That was the one that was like D&D sim, but on the PC.
Okay, so like we've said, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if we want to strip it down to what it is, you are traversing around the world, you are fighting and beating certain Digimon, recruiting the certain Digimon that you do beat, and then they will then join the town and serve a purpose within the town. They'll open up a bank where they can keep your items or enhance your training facilities or do different things like that.
You do a lot of training too. That's like a big part of it. Like
yeah, I feel like you grabbed a few of the systems here, and you already talked about the complexity, but I don't think you even got them all.
But
because there's more. You level up your town. You talked about that by getting more Digimon to go into it, which is a kind of cool concept. Like invite them back, and then you get more function. You level up your training facilities over time. As you use those more, they become more effective. You train your pet, which there's a bunch of nuance to. But then beyond that, you also have to care for your pet. There's this whole food and discipline and using the facilities, which is a whole thing, and we've got to talk about because what in the world? You got a whole set of techniques you've got to manage on top of that. You've got to capture Digimon. You've got Digievolutions. You've got to complex. You've got item management you have to do. You have to be cognizant of the time of the day and how much time is passing.
All right.
And I think
there's
I'm
a lot of
forgetting
systems.
some.
Okay.
There's so many systems, and none of them are simple.
Listen to me. We did a Tamagotchi Elements episode.
Yes.
Fairly recently. Is this year?
It was the only Elements episode we've done in the last 5 years.
Okay. That
Ever.
was popular in the 90s, very popular, or way earlier than this, but still like existed to a large degree, I think. And so I think that they were literally mashing up Tamagotchi and popular Pokemon at the time. And in doing
Absolutely.
so, they kept every system that existed and added some. And so for me, the training thing was very straightforward. Let's train because Pokemon is you have a team of Pokemon and they fight for you. So that to me is familiar. So I was like, cool, the point of this game is to train in my town. Sure, that's a little strange, but let's train my pet. But then the goal from there is it's just not there. Like Dustin, you're saying, it's just up to you to know what to do. And even when you know, it's like, how do you decide what mechanic you want to invest in and focus on to progress to beat this game?
Okay,
I don't know.
we haven't mentioned a game that I can't actually claim that Digimon World borrowed from because I believe they came out right around the same time, but we played it on this podcast. Monster Rancher 2 in particular, I think came out right around this time.
Yep.
And
Better.
I think out of all the games we played, besides Tamagotchi, it's a combination of Monster Rancher 2 and Tamagotchi and Pokemon, probably that blend right there.
Yeah.
Because Monster Rancher 2, remember, you have that little farm kind of homestead where you're raising your animal, your
the
monster.
tournaments.
And I think you can upgrade the barn size. So even that's kind of like upgrading town. You take them and battle other animals. And so that's kind of like some of the fighting that you do out in the world. You don't have as much like world exploration as you do in Digimon World. But a lot of these other elements, even with the like their evolutions and stuff like that, you've got that in Monster Rancher 2. There is a lot of, and you have to feed, take care of. Thankfully, you don't have to take them to the facilities, but all of those things impact how long they'll live, how healthy they are, how well they fight, and if they listen to you in battle. If you remember the Monster Rancher 2 battles, you don't really tell them how to do every single move. You kind of have them in this, there's a gauge and everything, but you can kind of say, do your own thing, or fight, or defend, and they'll hopefully listen to you if you have a good relationship with them. That's kind of the battle system here in Monster Rancher, or nope, in Digimon World.
Whoops.
He's so confused.
We're
He
gonna
actually
keep doing that.
forgot what game it is.
So let's talk about that fighting system here, because at the beginning, like Kenny found out in the first play, you can't do much of anything.
Nope.
In fact, I think all you can do, at the beginning, Kenny, all you can do is say your turn, which that's preset, or run.
Right. You can let your Digimon fight on their own, or you can just flee the battle. Those are the only two things you can do. So pushing buttons is meaningless, which feels really foreign when you're coming into an RPG. Now, I actually like this concept of as your mon gets stronger, and not stronger specifically, but stronger specifically in their like brain stat, and as you develop them over time, you do unlock the ability to give them specific commands instead of generic commands. And so
they're still generically specific. Like it's not, you can't tell them exactly what to do.
Well, later in the game you can.
Like they have a cool moveset like Pokemon?
Right. At first you can attack, and then later you can attack and defend. And then later you can attack, but like attack in moderation to use less skills with less points, and then defend. And then later you can actually choose which of your techniques you're using.
Oh.
See, that's
and
the meat,
attack,
though.
Instead of attack and defend.
That should be at
like,
the front.
It grows, but you don't get there until later.
That should
I
be
agree. It happens way too late, but I like that concept. It's frustrating, though, that you have no control, especially right off the bat.
With Pokemon, I'm sorry, obviously we're going to keep bringing this up, but with Pokemon, each one's so unique in their name, their look, and then their type. Pokemon type is everything. You build your team with a spread of Pokemon type, electric, water, fire, whatever, and they have cool moves based on that. To me, that's what makes them unique and cool. But attack and defend, attack but different than the other attack, is not unique and cool. And sure, let's train you to unlock what makes you you, but that to me should be like earlier in the game, because you don't get that feedback loop, and I'm not investing hours into this game to get there.
I mean, they are still having attacks that are based on their type here.
I know, but
You just don't get to specifically control like which ones they use in a nuanced way until further into the game. And that makes sense from a I'm training and this relationship with this mon is growing sort of point of view, but it does feel bad as a mechanic.
It's bad for new players. You don't
Right.
'Cause I don't know them, yeah.
Like construction of a game, you don't want to have new players being disengaged from a battle process.
Here's my biggest problem is that they don't tell you that.
Right.
If early on they were like, "Hey, do you want more control over what your mon does in a fight? Why don't you work on sending them to school so that their brain power goes up? You'll unlock ability to choose your techniques." Then you're like, "Oh, cool! I have a goal. I can do something with it." But they don't tell you.
Right.
And yeah, we're going to talk a lot about how complex this game is, but to me, the major fault isn't that it's got a lot of complexity. It does have too much, but that it has a lot of complexity without telling you anything about how to figure that out. Everything that's known about this game has just been like a community of people trialing and erroring stuff over and over to figure out these really intricate interactions, and the player is never told those things. That's not good.
So I like at first, I liked the training aspect in this game because there are different activities you can do within your town to raise certain stats. So there's the slot game. It's like some of them are mini games, some of them are static and just happen. But that slot machine thing was cool. I don't remember the stats that it affected.
So
Another
that's
one,
if you're doing like a bonus kind of training.
Yeah.
They're all passive
Yes.
unless you click bonus.
Yes. And the other ones, like there's like push a rock thing, like I guess is the equivalent of lifting weights.
It's the exact same as Monster Rancher 2. I
don't
played it a
remember.
lot back in the day, right? So I remember. But you have training things, and they'll train primarily one stat and a little bit of a secondary stat. So that's kind of how each of these work.
So that's cool to me at first. It feels like a job eventually where it's just like I don't want to.
It's
do
a grind. It's
very
grinding, but not actively. So like in JRPGs, you have a lot of grinding, but you're actively doing the grinding. You're the one that's fighting the battles. And so there's something you're playing it.
You're
But
playing
with
the
this
game.
with this grinding system, you're not playing it.
There is a
bad.
little bit of activity you have to do because as you're
Mhm.
training, your mon's going to get hungry. And so you have to interrupt what
Chores.
you're doing to feed them.
Chores.
And they're going to, after eating, have to go take a giant
Pee-pee-poo-poo.
dump, which is
Not on my
ridiculous.
podcast.
And
We're not talking about that. That's a
no, we
mechanic.
have to talk about it. It's so annoying that that's in the game.
Well,
and that
it's-
you have to do it all the time.
It's just like Tamagotchi, and
Yes.
like even the symbol. It's
Yes.
it's the certain symbol that pops up in like a dialogue box on your mon saying that it needs to go to the restroom. If you don't take it to an actual facility within a short amount of time, where then it can go and use the restroom where you hear it, and then flush the toilet, which is just, come on. Then it's just gonna defecate out in the field.
What do you want it to
And
do?
if it does that enough times, it's going to get ill with a
Yeah.
virus.
It's straight up Tamagotchi. But it's annoying. All of that stuff. Kenny, you're like saying it like, but you can do fun stuff while you wait. No, it's chores.
I was being sarcastic.
Okay, good.
In that it interrupts something that's already grindy to do these grindy chores on top of that, and it doesn't feel good.
And can I
hold
also?
on. So Kenny, I'm sorry. Kenny, were you being facetious?
Okay, I like it. He doesn't.
Wow.
Facetious.
Wow.
All right, go Nolan. Sorry, that was
Pepicious?
great.
All right. Can I just say that all of this is not contributing towards this goal of when they bring you into the hut at the beginning and say, "We've brought you here. We need you to save us." What do you mean? Save you from what? What am I doing?
You mean you need me to wipe a Digimon's bottom? Is that what you need me to do?
It indirectly it is, because if you don't train, this game's going to be impossible for you. You do get some stats other ways. As you fight, your stats go up a little bit, and you've got some items that'll raise your stats and whatever. But the main way to make your character strong enough to go through this world and accomplish the things you need to accomplish is training.
Yeah. Okay. The most complex system in the entire game that people still don't know today. Like Nolan, you mentioned, I think you're the one that said that, like, the knowledge of the systems of this game is gamers that enjoy it, that have built this knowledge up over time. But you're going to find misinformation everywhere, including the official handbook. It's not all the correct information there because the system is unbelievably complex. There's memes out there about the evolution cycle of Digimon versus Pokemon versus real life, right? You've got Pokemon, which is like a kitty cat to a lion to a tiger.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense with how they do evolutions. Here you've got like a little dinosaur that turns into a gun, that turns into like some kind of like, insane little thing. And so you've got memes about that, but the systems here is, it's not linear. It's not one thing turns into another thing turns into another thing. It's one thing could turn into 6 different things, could turn into 12 different things, could turn into 30 different things based on, in this game, every single stat that they have, including how many times you praise them or scold them, how many virus like things they have, how much their HP is within a certain range,
if you've let them die in battle or not, if they've won battles or not, how their stats are distributed, or how evenly their stats are distributed to each other. And even then, when you do hit that evolution, I believe it's sort of a percentage-based kinds of thing.
No.
I may be wrong. It may be
so. There's like also
right
RNG
enough to fulfill, but it's one of those things that if you're trying to go for a very specific monster, the amount of work you're going to have to do to fulfill a very specific formula is insanely high, and nobody knows those formulas. You're only looking that up today by going on the internet and taking advantage of the fact that people have played this game way too much over time. If you're playing it for the first time, you're just going to stumble your way through and maybe end up with cool characters and maybe end up with terrible characters and have no idea why.
So to me, that had to be intentional from the developers, that we want this to be completely random, basically, for people's experience, because I like complex games. Path of Exile is a great example. It's an extremely complex game. The entry level is higher than any game I know, but it's extremely satisfying and rewarding when you take the time to learn it and go to school for it. Basically, this game really does truly feel bad in that there's no way to know these things. You don't have control, even after years of learning and talking to other people in the quote-unquote Digimon community, whatever. You can't achieve your end goal that you really want, and a casual player certainly wants. So to me, the developers did this to simulate choice or make it seem like you have some sort of say in this, but like, that's not good complexity. That's really bad.
I agree that it's bad, and I do agree that it's too much. I will say that if you go into this game, you don't know what you're doing, and you try your best to accomplish the goals, you have a reasonable sense of why you would want to train your monster and that leveling them up and fighting with them is good, and then you go and explore the world. You're going to get through this game. You're going to take your monster, it's going to evolve into something, it's going to get stronger, you're going to make your way through it.
No, you won't.
I absolutely think you will. It's total. Once you understand the 2 or 3 sort of very core mechanics, you may not get the most specific Digimon you want. You may not be able to target a specific evolution. You may end up with a sub-optimal Pokemon from a mistake you didn't know you made. But if you're playing it through and willing to put in the time, you're going to get through this story and get some mons and upgrade some stuff and get through it. It just isn't going to feel good. And you should be able to make those choices.
I followed a guide, and I still ended up with a Digimon known as Nunamon. Now, Nunamon is a Digimon that you might end up with even if you do everything right, because you don't know what stats you're needed to do what. And so when my Digimon was ready to Digivolve, it became this green goop with these stalk-like eyes that were bloodshot. And it's not only the most hideous creature that I've ever seen, its stats
Oh.
have plummeted. It doesn't
they're
get better.
garbage.
So Kenny, I understand what you're saying, and I do think eventually, like, that Digimon can they go back into an egg, and then you can like grow them again, and they have the stats that they left with, and so you can eventually, yes, given enough time, whatever. You're not going to know how you get to which Digimon, but you can. But like, even me trying to follow a guide and do it the correct way, I ended up with a Digimon that punishes me.
Yeah, it's bricked.
From there on out.
Yeah, bad experience. You put the game down after that. I know you did. Because
I
what
did.
do you
Good.
do? Like, all this time
What do I do
invested
now?
into
Yeah.
your game
Right.
that you design, and you reward me with that thing. I saw your picture in Discord.
That I do not want to be seen in the Digimon world with. I don't care if it's the real world or the digital world. I'm not walking around with this thing.
And
And
you
I'm
followed a
sure as
guide.
heck not taking it to the bathroom.
You followed the optimal path and still got that.
Yes.
Excuse me? You're going to tell me that's
Yeah.
better, Digimon fans, that's better than 1, 2, 3 linear evolution in Pokemon.
I
Cap.
understand them wanting to give you variety, complexity, replay value, all these things, but they needed a more clear shot system. They tried to do too much here, and they accomplished that. It is way
Can
too
you stop
much.
playing devil's advocate?
It is, but the bigger problem still is that they don't tell you that.
Yeah. Well,
If
and
they-
it's so massive that they couldn't possibly tell you all of that.
No, but they could have tried.
Told you
They could
something.
have given you something to know what to do, but you're fumbling in the dark. You're defusing a bomb, but you can't even see the bomb, let alone have a manual.
Keep
It's like you're
talking
just in
or
a
explain.
dark room with oven mitts on and just a bomb.
And Nunumon.
Good luck.
Nunumon.
Aged.
So one of the big factors about Digimon is that unlike Pokemon, it didn't become a thing. If you weren't around for the era where
Oh.
Digimon was popular, and maybe they continued to make some titles, it didn't have the universally familiar appeal or longevity that some others titles
There's
have.
no Digimon
So-
Go.
Right.
Yeah,
the
it's-
the people that are going to see it and be like, "Oh, I might want to go back and play that," are people that were around for Digimon in the first place. And so it's kind of one of those things where culturally it's just lost some significance over time, which matters
Yeah.
because some people just aren't going to care.
That does matter. And we might be ignorant. It might still be around. In fact, I think it is, but
The last game was released in 2013 on the PSP. There is going to be, it says that there is planning to be a 2022 new Digimon called Digimon Survive.
Okay,
hey, if
so
they
they're
remake World.
they're trying to make it survive.
Okay.
But it's kind of tapered off. It
That's a good
definitely
title.
isn't what they wanted it to be.
Sure.
No, and you're right. You can't. Okay, it's not based on a show, but they tried to do the Pokemon thing where it's a cultural phenomenon. And yes, we mentioned there were hardcore fans.
Yeah, for a little while it was. It
For
just
years,
didn't have
yeah.
the legs. In 2021, it's not going to have the audience of like, "Oh, I got to go back and play that first
Yes.
Digimon game," that something else would have.
So it needs to be a good game to get past that. First of all, we've addressed that. Secondly, it needs to look okay. This is a top-down view like Pokemon, but what I'll give this game, in 99, Pokemon fans were desperate for a Pokemon World. And for the longest time, we didn't get that until the Switch release, that big one, that came out recently. I don't know the name of it because I'm a noob. Sword and Shield? I don't know. This kind of went there in the 3D realm, open world. It's not multiplayer, so it was lacking that. However, the top-down graphics, I feel like they age okay because
Isometric, kind of. It's not exactly.
Yeah, it's
top-down.
isometric, kind of. It's like, I don't know. It's hard. It's top-down, but
I felt like it. I felt it's pretty standard PlayStation fare. I felt like it looked pretty good. It didn't look great on like the visuals themselves, but it did work well for the open world, giving you lots of ability to kind of move from place to place. Although I did always feel a little lost because the views were so tight.
Yes.
You ended up in a lot of corridors, and you ended up not having that sort of where am I currently in connection to everything else very clear in your mind. But that said, I did think the tone of this world was so fun all of the like fusing of digital stuff with like real
Nature.
life stuff was amazing to me. I literally laughed out loud the first time that I realized all of the trees were plugged into the
Plugs.
ground from an
It's
electrical
really cool.
socket.
Really cool.
That's so funny.
It's
And when
unique,
you
yep.
walk into town for the first time and all of the ground is sort of that circuitry, it looks like a really fun take on what a sort of digital world might be. And they leaned hard into that, and the humor. The growing meat instead of growing plants is like that kind of stuff. I think they absolutely nailed in this game. And I think there's actually some real charm and appeal there.
Well, and I think it gets better the further you get into the game. With some PlayStation games, you do that pre-rendered background thing, and I think a lot of them are good here. I agree with the tight camera shot isn't always the best for knowing where you are, but as you get deeper and deeper into the game, there's a lot of interesting environments that you end up going to, and they all have that kind of digital theme, but they're all very different. So your first area is that very nature-driven, but that's not all the areas. There's a lot of other areas that are just as digitally focused, but aren't as nature focused and centric. And so it's very interesting. And I think they look good. I even think the Digimons themselves look good.
Yeah.
You know, those aren't the
Agreed.
best. The best part, I think the background honestly is the best part, but I think visually it looks good. The cutscene at the beginning of the game, I thought that was
Super well
really,
done.
really good too.
Oh, I don't know about that. I
You
think
didn't like it?
No.
Well, I think where they missed hard was on the like kids and their
Well,
faces.
it's a different style, you know. I feel like they were going not chibi, but something that was
Something
a
in
different kind of
between.
style.
It just ended up looking off to me, like, and then when I think about other PlayStation title cutscenes at the time, it just felt a little behind those because I mean Square Enix and some of those other companies were just like making movies, but it was okay.
Sure.
It worked okay for me. Some of the lip sync and stuff was problematic, but overall, I was with you, Dustin. I got sucked into the story with them as they were setting up. So I felt like they did a good job on most of that. And I also didn't hate how it sounded. The music was mostly fun. It wasn't like the best thing ever, but it was very well. It was very varied and like thematically appropriate to where you were. Some of the sound effects were a little over the top and bothered me. But again, like the world they made was a pretty nice one to be in, all in all. I was just confused the whole time.
I wouldn't recognize a track, so I'm sure that the track is the same one that's in like the show. I do know the Digimon.
No.
That's not in here, but
The theme song is not in here. So it's like another game that we played somewhat
Yeah.
recently that's like that is a crime not to have the theme song in there since it's such an Inspector Gadget, right? That did not
that
have
one didn't
the
have. Maybe they didn't
I'm
have
still
that theme
salty about
yet.
that.
Maybe they didn't make that theme up yet.
I don't know, man. They didn't have any Digimon like noticeable music, but I agree. I thought the ambient music you get for the most part is good. I thought the battle music was a little redundant, but again, that battle music evolves as your character does and as the game does. But it's like with a lot of these systems that you have to play 4, 5, 6 hours to get into the gooder stuff because it doesn't start you on the strong good stuff. It starts you on the very basic, can't do much, hear the same song over and over again, and it only gets better as it goes on, but it also gets more and more complex. So it's just this catch-23, if you will.
I will.
I won't.
No one has time for a 60-hour game like this. It does. It is a game that takes a lot of time.
So it is an RPG.
Yeah, I guess so. But with that many hours, with as little story and unexplained core systems, I think it is anathema. But you can get it used for $29, that rotating disc that you can slip into your system. You can get a new one for $224. So I'm guessing, most of those are a little bit more expensive to get. But collector's edition, gotta catch them. Oh.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. Does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. I'll begin by saying that I actually at first I was kind of drawn in. I didn't expect to love or enjoy this game. I'd never heard about it before. I did like the world of Digimon, but I didn't fully know what to expect. As soon as I got in, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. It's a lot more open world than I expected, and I don't hate the monster maintenance. I don't like taking it to the bathroom, but I like being able to praise it, scold it, feed it, those kinds of things. I even like the training ground. Is what it did for me immediately is it brought up Monster Rancher 2 vibes, and I like Monster Rancher 2. And so it really I enjoyed that. And then I was following a guide, so at least I felt like I knew what I was doing. But then when I realized, like, to actually get certain things to proc, I have to be in a certain area at a certain time of day when that clock doesn't make any kind of sense in the first place. And to make the shadow and the water show up to be able to get across to a new area without any kind of instruction. So I was just wandering around for like 2 or 3 in-game days, just trying to figure out what to do, even with a guide. And then like the worst part of it all was when I felt like I did everything right. I took care of my Digimon, I trained it, I battled it, it never died, it never lost a heart. And then I got Nunumon. I got the worst thing in the game that punished me for playing and made it unenjoyable from that point forward. This game is too complex for its own good. Nope. It needed to strip down some of its systems, and there could have been something good and fun here. I think it looks fine. I think it sounds fine. But I think that they took away a lot of the fun up front, placed it later in the game, and then made the systems far too complex for any modern gamer today to go back and enjoy. If you love Digimon, or if you are a Digimon fanatic, then play this game. But for everyone else, avoid it. I don't give it my vote for New Game Plus status.
I wish I could have been there when that evolution happened and watched you.
I'm sure you just stared.
Here's the thing:
silently for a while.
I didn't know anything about Nunamon, but when I saw it, I was like, something has gone terribly wrong.
You're like, there's no way this is the like optimal Digimon.
And like they made it hideous.
Yeah.
So I took a screenshot, posted it, and then looked online to realize that I had just been punished, and so I turned off the game. Yeah, it was bad. Nolan.
I have never been a fan of Digimon, so this was going to be a hard sell up front. I always looked at it as like off-brand Pokemon. I had one friend who like was into it, but he was more into Pokemon, and I don't watch either anime. So just it was a hard sell. And of course it didn't deliver. I think even if you absolutely love Digimon, that this won't satisfy that itch. You'll be like, yeah, this is lacking. I'm not getting rewarded. Like, because the game, yes, it has the Digimon skin on it, but the game mechanics don't reward you. The progression is very blurry and not clear. Your direction and end goal is also not constantly being reinforced to you. It's kind of a bad game. And so when you have a bad game and try to make it like endearing to fans, there's a problem. So I'm curious to hear what our community that are also fan of Digimon had to say. No New Game Plus, so far from New Game Plus, Pokemon all the way. Coca-Cola Classic.
I'll drink a cherry Pepsi. I think there's a really charming game in here somewhere. If you take out a few of the gimmicks, if you surface more of the information that you need and tone down the complexity a little bit, this game would be an absolute stunner. I really do think there's some good sort of core stuff that they were trying to do. But as it is, managing this game was overwhelming. I always tell you, I want to see developers like loved the game they were making and like put something into it, but they might have loved it too much in this case. They just kept putting in stuff and more stuff and making it interact in ways that aren't clear. And so here's who should play this game. If you enjoyed Digimon as a kid and didn't play this game in the first place, you happen to be nerdy enough to really like complexity and don't mind playing something where you need a second monitor to look up even how to play it, and you happen to be like stuck in a hospital bed for a week or something where you just need to kill time, then maybe consider playing this title. Otherwise, I think most people are going to want to pass for all the reasons we discussed. So no New Game Plus for me.
Unless you're in a hospital bed.
If you're in your final hours, don't play this game.
I'm not saying you're dying.
All right. Listen, you're just digivolving into something a lot
To
worse.
New
Listen.
Numon, yeah.
All right, Digimon World is not New Game Plus certified. What did you think? We had 425 votes on YouTube. 37% said yes, it's worth playing today. 8% said no, go play something else, and 55% have never played it before.
Those
It's
hardcore
not-
Digimon fans are lying.
Now, we had a few people write in. King Albert said, longtime listener, first time write in.
Thanks.
Digimon World
Welcome.
has aged very well in spite of itself. The game
mind.
suffers from a terrible translation and numerous game-breaking glitches. The PAL version is literally impossible to beat. Much like Majora's Mask, Digimon World came out at a time where losing progress was a hard pill to swallow for some people. It's one of those games that gets easier every time you die. You pass along your moveset when your Digimon dies of natural causes, and training gets easier as you progress and upgrade your gym. Even getting a Nunamon can be useful later on. As a fan of Tamagotchi and V-Pets, I absolutely adore this game. It's a V-Pet experience stuffed into an adventure. I'm a really big fan of JRPGs, but most of the modern Digimon games feel like a generic RPG with a Digimon skin slapped on. Digimon World represents a time before the series changed from a monster raising series to monster collecting series. P.S. Nunamon is king, Stinky Poo Crew for life, NGP plus.
Stinky Poo Crew? Interesting.
I love that we found a fan. And
found a
I
fan.
do think they're right in pointing out some of the like core Digimon stuff, the fact that this is sort of early Digimon where it's still pet training and how fun that is. The fact that once you do know how to play the game and have gotten into it, that it does sort of get easier and become a thing. Still a hard pill to swallow for most people,
And
but I love that there's people that love this game.
Good on them for realizing, hey, this doesn't work. Let's do the Pokemon thing and go to collecting for the new games.
We
No,
had
they
a
should have stuck with it, but fixed it.
few other thoughts on the game. Garlel said, a lot of this game, the exploration, the overall free-form game structure, the various systems used to determine growth is super interesting. But the actual play this week had me just wanting to close my eyes and drift off.
Yes.
Combat, being an interactionless auto-battler, takes out a lot of the feeling of having anything notable to do. Because without combat, this game is largely running around and talking to people, maybe doing some silly mini-game-ish task. Couple that with punishing hidden evolution mechanics if you are trying to focus on the combat and monster raising side, and it just becomes a game I want to know about, but don't want to play any more of.
Like I said, without that feedback loop of rewarding battles or interesting battles, why are you doing what you're doing? So he's right.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, like, why would I need to save the Digimon World? Clint said, okay, well, I did not have any fun with this one this week. I'll say this, though, and play off Dustin's new pricing habit. The game is $30 or around $30 used, and I wasn't able to get it running reliably through other means. The gameplay I was able to experience was quite bland and felt like a boiled down version of a turn-based battler like Pokemon. I didn't find anything this week that made me feel like I was having any sort of novel gaming experience, and frankly, it just made me want to play other games instead. In Nolan's terms, nah, get out of here with that.
Yeah. I didn't say
I
that. but
wonder, listen, one of the reasons Pokemon obviously was so successful was because the game was so successful and because the game was so well done. What if Digimon faded into obscurity because this was some of its first gaming, for fans, and it just didn't cut it? It wasn't as good as Pokemon.
Just wasn't it?
Like,
I'm certain that's part of the story.
Like, think about what if Pokemon would have created a Digimon World type game and Digimon World would have created a Pokemon type game.
Yeah.
Would have been a different thing.
There might be an alternate universe where that's the reality.
So we are setting aside Digimon World. Thank you for sending in your thoughts on the Retro Game of the Week. You can do that each and every week by sending your thoughts and commentary to ngppodcast@gmail.com or by hopping into our Discord channel. We've got a commentary section there. Love to include your thoughts as a part of our show next week, where we are not randomly selecting. Well, we are, but
Okay.
not from our Retro Master list. We
Okay.
actually have a guest joining us next week for episode 299.
Okay.
Next
what's
week,
that
we're
about?
going to be joined by the one, the only, Tom Tate.
Timothy Tate? Timus?
I
Timothy
can't
Tatum.
wait.
Listen,
Wow.
Tom, as we mentioned before, has been the editor-producer of our show for a long time now, and he is stepping down from that illustrious position, and now he's just going to be only our friend. And so he's going to continue to be a part of the community. He's going to continue to be a part of the show in that capacity, but he's no longer going to edit and produce our show. So we thought for his a good hurrah, a good farewell, we're going to invite him to come on the show, and we asked him to just hand select the game that he would like us to play, like any other guest does. Tom said, in the spirit of the show, I want to give you a list of games that you can randomly select from. Yeah, there were games on this list like Final Fantasy IX, Diddy Kong Racing, and Kingdom Hearts.
Wow.
And from that list, we randomized a 1992 platforming video game developed by Takeru and published by Taito for the Nintendo Entertainment System. We're going NES. It's a game I've never heard of before, but that sounds awful. It's a platforming video game called Little Samson.
It's such a funny title.
The name is not epic. Unless you're a rapper, maybe especially if you're a rapper, throwing little in front of something doesn't inspire a lot of confidence for me. And so we'll see. I am hyped for NES though.
Yeah, me too. But the fact that none of us have heard of it is concerning, obviously.
Two things. One, for a rapper, it would need to be Lil, not little.
Apostrophe,
and
yeah.
then number two, we can be rest assured that our episode next week will be able to focus a lot more on Tom Tate and not the game.
Yeah.
So we'll find a copy of Little Samson and play it along with Kenny, Nolan, Dustin, and Tom Tate next week.
You can join us in Discord and chat with our community, leave thoughts on the game of the week.
Leave
when you decide that it's not for you by going to ngppodcast.com and clicking join us on Discord.
You can also decide to support the continuing effort of making New Game Plus something you get to listen to every week by going to patreon.com and becoming a supporter of the show on Patreon. You'll be joining people like our director level supporters who go way above and beyond, Garlisle, Brojim, and Antonin, as well as our large list of producer level supporters who have hit that sweet spot of getting all the content and supporting the show in some really nice ways. But there's a lot of them. Here you go. I'm Marlene, Anthony, Austin, Ben, Bethany Fox, Brunt, Carrie, Captain Protein, Dan the Man, DB Muffet, Francesca. Hi, I'm Josh, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Corey, Maxima, Mr. Lattes, Nawel, Secret Duck of Evermore, Shauna, Thomas, Unbelievable, Wardanis, William, Zion. Oh, and you thought I forgot Lorelei? I didn't. Okay. Thanks so much.
Okay, great job, Kenny. You can follow us on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. This episode was edited and produced by our good friend who is joining us next week, Tom Tate. Join us next week with Tom Tate as we play Little Samson. Until then, I'm still Nunamon.
I'm Kinemon.
I'm Nullmon.
Okay, very creative. And this has been No Game Plusamon.